All right, so today we're going deep into Kolkata,
Kolkata.
and we're going way beyond like the typical tourist stuff, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We've got this awesome document that one of our listeners sent over, and it's just jam-packed with insights about the city.
Cool.
And like, get this, Kolkata was already a major hub centuries before the British even showed up.
Really?
Yeah, so we're talking ancient trade routes, a city named after a powerful goddess,
Wow.
and villages that grew into a sprawling metropolis.
That's incredible.
And of course, we can't forget about Kolkata's role in India's independence movement.
Right.
And
And the food.
the food, of
We'll
course. We'll definitely be talking about the amazing food.
Yeah, miss that.
So to really understand Kolkata, we need to go back to the beginning.
Okay.
To the three villages that formed its foundation, Kalikata, Sutanuti, and Gobindapur.
Right.
What can you tell us about these villages?
Well, these villages weren't just some random settlements. They were actually controlled by a very powerful family, the Sabarna Roy Chaudhuri family.
The Sabarna Roy Chaudhuri family.
Yeah, think of them as the, original power players of the region.
Got it.
They were already shaping this area long before the British arrived.
Okay, and that name Kalikata, it's obviously connected to the goddess Kali, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So what's the story there?
Well, Kalikata is thought to come from Kali and Kata, which means canal.
Interesting.
And this whole area was a major pilgrimage site for devotees of the goddess,
I see.
especially the Kalihat Temple, which is still hugely important today.
So hold on, before the British even arrived, Kalikata, I guess back then, was already a major spiritual center.
Yes, and a commercial hub as well.
Wow, that's a side of the story we don't often hear.
It is, and there's even evidence of ancient trade routes linking this area to Southeast Asia.
No way.
Way?
So centuries ago, Kolkata was already plugged into global trade networks. That's mind-blowing. But then in 1690, Job Charnock arrives, a British East India Company agent, setting up a trading post in Sutanuti.
Right.
How did that change things?
Well, Charnock's arrival definitely marked a turning point. But the British didn't just take over immediately.
Okay.
It wasn't until 1698 that they formally acquired those three villages from the Sabarna Roy Chaudhuri family.
From the Sabarna Roy Chaudhuri.
Yes, and that really marked the beginning of their development in the area.
Got it. So then comes the Battle of Plassey in 1757.
Right.
Robert Clive, a major figure in British colonialism, defeats the Nawab of Bengal.
Yes.
How did this battle shape Kolkata's destiny?
Well, the Battle of Plassey was a complete game changer. It gave the British control over Bengal and Kolkata, with its strategic location and growing infrastructure, became their most prized possession.
I see.
By 1772, it was the capital of British India.
So we see these villages transforming into a major colonial city.
Right.
Grand buildings are going up, new institutions are established,
Yes.
and it's becoming this melting pot of cultures.
Absolutely.
That must have been a wild time.
Oh, it was a period of rapid transformation. Just picture structures like Fort William, St. Paul's Cathedral, and the Victoria Memorial popping up everywhere.
Wow.
Real statements of British power and ambition.
It's like a scene out of a movie, you know, horse-drawn carriages, grand colonial mansions,
Exactly.
a city in a state of constant change.
Yes, and then in the 19th century comes the Bengal Renaissance.
The Bengal Renaissance.
This incredible movement that challenged traditional norms and really pushed for social change.
So what was the Bengal Renaissance all about?
It was about shaking things up.
Yeah.
Rethinking the way society worked, challenging the old ways of doing things.
Fascinating. And this is where we encounter those amazing figures like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar, and Swami Vivekananda.
Yes.
What made them so influential?
Well, think about it. Back then, the practice of sati, where widows were expected to self-immolate, was widespread.
Right.
Raja Ram Mohan Roy fought against that head-on.
Wow.
He wasn't just trying to stop a practice. He was changing how society viewed women. And Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he pushed for widow remarriage and education for all.
Incredible.
And then you have Swami Vivekananda, who revitalized Hinduism and spread its message of universal brotherhood.
Those are some seriously impactful figures.
They were true revolutionaries in their own right.
It's incredible how Kolkata became this breeding ground for progressive thought.
It is.
And it wasn't just about adopting Western ideas, but about challenging Indian traditions to create a fairer society.
Exactly.
What a shift. And of course, you can't talk about Kolkata's cultural renaissance without mentioning Rabindranath Tagore,
So
the
Gord?
literary giant,
Oh, absolutely.
the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in literature.
Amazing.
He was part of this wave of Bengali intellectuals who were changing the world's view of India.
Right? Absolutely. His work resonated globally. He wasn't
Uh-huh.
just a writer. He was a philosopher, a musician, a painter.
Incredible. And all of this is happening as resentment against British rule is brewing.
Oh.
And Kolkata, with its history of intellectual and social reform, naturally takes a leading role in the Indian independence movement.
Absolutely. Organizations like the Indian National Congress, they were key players in the fight for freedom, and they held many of their important meetings in Kolkata.
So we have intellectuals like Tagore on one hand, and then on the other hand, we have groups like the Anushalan Samiti and leaders like Subhas Chandra Bose, who believed in taking direct action against the British.
Yes, Kolkata became this melting pot of revolutionary activity, a city where different strategies for independence were debated, planned, and acted upon.
Right.
Its streets and its people were deeply intertwined with the fight for freedom.
That's what makes Kolkata so fascinating. You know, it saw the complexities of colonial rule and the unwavering spirit of resistance.
Exactly.
It's a place where ideas were born, battles were fought, and a new nation was envisioned.
And then freedom came with a price.
Right. The partition of India in 1947 hit Kolkata particularly hard.
It did, the partition dividing British India into India and Pakistan triggered a massive migration, one of the largest in history.
And for Kolkata, the impact was huge.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about the partition of Bengal itself creating East Pakistan, which later became Bangladesh.
Right.
Imagine the influx of Hindu refugees into Kolkata.
Millions of people uprooted seeking refuge in a city already grappling with the challenges of a newly independent nation.
It was a human tragedy on a massive scale.
It was.
And this influx of refugees, along with the economic turmoil from partition, had long-lasting effects.
It did.
The city that was once the capital of British India was now facing a whole new set of problems.
The post-independence period was a reality check for Kolkata. Its economy built on industries from the colonial era began to decline.
Right.
Add labor unrest and political instability to the mix, and you can see the turmoil.
And then there was the Naxalite movement in the 1960s and 70s,
Right.
a radical leftist movement that further shook the city.
It did.
Kolkata was in a state of flux, trying to find its footing in a newly independent India.
But even with all those challenges, Kolkata's spirit never broke.
It's true.
Its resilience, its cultural vibrancy, and its intellectual energy continued to shine through.
It's a testament to the people of Kolkata that they navigated such turbulent times and eventually started to recover and reinvent themselves.
Yes.
It's almost as if the city itself embodies the spirit of resilience that defines India.
And that resilience paved the way for Kolkata's modernization in the late 20th and early 21st centuries.
Interesting.
It embraced new industries, especially IT,
Okay.
and saw the development of new business hubs.
Got it.
Infrastructure projects, though sometimes slow and tough, aim to improve connectivity and quality of life.
It's amazing to see this interplay between tradition and modernity.
It is.
Kolkata, with its rich history and culture, is also adapting to a globalized world.
Exactly.
It's a city that's always evolving, and we can't forget that Kolkata is so much more than its economic and political history.
Oh, absolutely.
It's renowned for its art, its literature, its music.
And the food.
Oh, and the food, of course.
Kolkata is a feast for the senses.
Now, this is what I've been waiting for.
You too.
We're about to dive into the heart of Kolkata, its incredible cultural scene.
All right, let's do it.
We'll explore the architectural wonders, the literary legends, the vibrant theater scene,
The food.
and, of course, those mouth-watering sweets and street food that Kolkata is so famous for.
I'm excited for this part.
Me too.
Mm.
So let's pause here and continue our exploration of Kolkata's cultural tapestry in our next segment.
Sounds good.
You definitely won't want to miss it.
I'll be here. So we left off talking about how Kolkata is a city that never stops reinventing itself.
And you know what? I think the city's architecture really reflects that.
In what way?
Well, you have these grand colonial buildings right next to modern skyscrapers.
Right.
It's like a visual representation of how Kolkata's history is layered.
It's a fascinating mix for sure.
It is. One minute you're walking past the Victoria Memorial.
A monument to British ambition.
Exactly. And the next you're in a bustling market with vendors selling traditional sweets and the latest gadgets.
It's a city of contrast, that's for sure.
Speaking of the Victoria Memorial,
Yes.
it's such an iconic landmark. I'd love to hear more about it.
Well, it's a stunning example of Indo-Saracenic architecture.
Indo-Saracenic architecture.
Yeah, a blend of British and Mughal styles.
Oh, wow.
Today, it's a museum and a popular tourist spot, a really glimpse into Kolkata's colonial past.
And then there's the Howrah Bridge.
The Howrah
It's a
Bridge.
massive structure spanning the Hooghly River.
It's a symbol of Kolkata's modernity, I'd say.
Absolutely. It connects Kolkata to Howrah, its twin city.
Right.
It's this constant flow of traffic, people, and goods, a real testament to the city's energy.
It's a lifeline for the city, for sure.
I read that it carries over 100,000 vehicles every day,
Wow.
plus countless pedestrians.
It's hard to imagine the scale of it.
And speaking of scale, the Indian Museum.
The Indian Museum.
That's another must-see, right?
Absolutely. It's the oldest and largest museum in India. It houses an incredible collection spanning centuries.
What kind of stuff?
Oh, ancient sculptures, Mughal paintings,
Cool.
you name it. It really showcases the incredible diversity of Indian art and history.
It's like stepping into a treasure chest of knowledge.
Right in the heart of Kolkata.
Yeah, and it reminds us that this city has always been a center of learning and cultural exchange.
And speaking of cultural exchange, let's talk about Kolkata's literary scene.
Okay.
We can't forget about Rabindranath Tagore's impact.
Tagore's presence is everywhere in Kolkata, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
From the university named after him to the countless theaters staging his plays.
And the bookstores filled with his works.
Yeah, Kolkata seems to breathe Tagore.
And the city hosts the Calcutta Book Fair,
To Calcutta Book
one of
Fair.
the largest in the world.
Wow.
It draws book lovers from all over, a real testament to Kolkata's passion for literature.
And we can't forget the Kolkata International Film Festival.
Right, a major event showcasing both Indian and international cinema.
It seems like Kolkata embraces art in all its forms.
Absolutely. And when it comes to art, Kolkata's theater scene is legendary.
Oh, yeah.
It has this rich history dating back to the 19th century.
Wow.
And it's produced some of India's most celebrated playwrights and actors.
Like who?
Well, you've got legendary figures like Utpal Dutt.
Utpal Dutt.
He used theater to make these powerful statements about society and politics.
Cool. I've heard that his plays are still relevant today.
They are. His legacy lives on in the countless theater groups and young actors he inspired.
So we've covered architecture and literature and theater.
And now it's time for
the food.
The food, yes.
Kolkata is a food lover's paradise.
It is.
And its sweets are legendary.
Oh, absolutely. From the melt-in-your-mouth rasgulla to the
delicate
sandesh and the creamy mishti doi.
Mishti doi.
Kolkata's sweet shops are a sensory overload.
In the best possible way.
Exactly. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Me too. I have a real weakness for rasgulla, those soft, spongy cheese balls and sweet syrup.
They're so good. And we can't forget the street food.
Oh, the street food.
Kolkata streets are filled with the aromas of kathi rolls,
Kathi rolls.
fuchkas, and telepaja.
Telepaja.
A must-try for anyone visiting the city.
Those Kathi rolls with their flaky parathas and spicy fillings are amazing.
So good. And puchkas, those crispy hollow balls filled with tangy water and mashed potatoes.
So much flavor.
Kolkata street food is a reflection of the city's diversity
I agree.
and its ability to blend culinary influences into something unique and delicious.
It's a true sensory experience for sure. So we've explored grand architecture, literary giants, a vibrant theater scene, and the incredible food.
It's clear that Kolkata celebrates life in all its forms.
It does, but what about Kolkata today?
Yeah.
What's it like to live in a city that's steeped in history, yet constantly changing?
Kolkata today is this fascinating blend of tradition and modernity.
Right.
It's grappling with the challenges of rapid urbanization while striving to preserve its unique cultural heritage.
It's a dynamic place for sure.
It is.
We talked about the economic revival Kolkata has experienced with the growth of the IT sector and new business hubs,
Right.
but it's also home to prestigious institutions like Presidency University and Jadavpur University.
Oh, yes. Those institutions are a testament to Kolkata's intellectual legacy.
They continue to attract brilliant minds and contribute to the city's reputation as a hub of learning.
Absolutely. But like any major city, Kolkata faces challenges.
Of course, things like traffic congestion, pollution, and urban sprawl.
The city's infrastructure is struggling to keep up with its growth.
But there are initiatives in place, right?
Yes, things like the East-West Metro Corridor and smart city projects.
So they're working to improve transportation, reduce pollution, and enhance the quality of life for residents.
Exactly. It's encouraging to see these efforts.
And Kolkata has always been resilient and resourceful.
Absolutely. It has a knack for finding creative solutions to complex problems.
And along with those modernization efforts, there's a growing awareness of the need to preserve Kolkata's cultural heritage.
Yes, restoration projects are underway to protect historic buildings.
And initiatives to promote tourism and showcase its artistic and culinary traditions.
It's a delicate balancing act.
It is trying to preserve the past while embracing the future.
Right.
I think Kolkata's doing a remarkable job navigating that path.
I agree. It's a city that's constantly evolving, adapting to new realities while holding on to its core identity.
So it's both timeless and timely.
Exactly, a place where history whispers in every corner and the future unfolds before your very eyes.
So we've covered a lot of ground.
We have from ancient villages to colonial grandeur, from the fight for freedom to the challenges of modernization, and from the vibrant cultural scene to the incredible food.
It's true, we've explored so many facets of this captivating city.
And yet, there's always more to discover.
Right. What are your thoughts on Kolkata's essence, its overall feel? It's funny, as we've been talking, I keep thinking about how much Kolkata is a city of contradictions.
What do you mean?
Well, you have this mix of poverty and opulence right alongside each other.
Right.
Ancient traditions bumping up against modern trends.
That's true.
And this incredible resilience that fuels the city's evolution.
I think that really gets at the heart of Kolkata.
It's a city that wears its heart on its sleeve.
Absolutely.
It's both chaotic and charming, gritty and graceful.
It's a city that challenges you and inspires you all at once.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so unforgettable.
It definitely stays with you.
It draws you back. You want to explore more of its hidden depths.
And there are so many.
And as we've been talking, I keep coming back to this creative energy that Kolkata has.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, this is a city that has produced some of India's most famous writers and poets
And filmmakers.
and musicians.
So many creative people.
It's like there's something in the air that sparks this incredible imagination.
Kolkata celebrates the arts in every form.
It does, from the traditional to the avant-garde.
You can be walking down the street and see a performance on one corner, and then a classical music concert in a grand theater just around the next.
And we can't forget the role Kolkata has played in shaping India politically and socially.
Absolutely. It's been at the forefront of so many social reform movements.
It's never been afraid to challenge the status quo.
From the Bengal Renaissance to the Indian independence movement, Kolkata has been a melting pot of ideas.
Right. A real catalyst for change.
And that spirit of questioning, that challenging of the norm, it still feels very alive in Kolkata today.
Oh, absolutely. It's constantly redefining itself.
It's a city in perpetual motion, always trying new things, pushing boundaries,
And that makes it so exciting.
full of possibility.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Kolkata,
Already.
I'm just in awe.
You know what you mean?
It's this city that's familiar and foreign at the same time,
It's hard to put in a box.
but it defies easy labels.
That's the beauty of Kolkata.
And I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
It's a city that keeps on giving.
It rewards those who take the time to truly get to know it,
And I hope our listeners feel inspired to do just that.
to experience it firsthand.
To go beyond the typical tourist spots and really discover the heart of the city.
So to our listeners out there, if you could spend a day in Kolkata, what would you do?
Where would you go? What would you want to see?
Would you wander through those vibrant markets?
Taking in the sights and smells.
Would you visit the historical landmarks tracing the footsteps of history?
Maybe you'd get lost in a book at the Calcutta Book Fair.
Woohoo! Or just find a tea stall
Sip some chai.
and watch the city unfold around you.
Kolkata offers something for everyone.
It invites you to create your own story within its vibrant tapestry.
So go explore, discover, and let Kolkata captivate you.